Carter.
Present.
Mr. Young. Mr. Walters.
Here.
Ms. Cleland McGrath.
Here.
Ms. Moulton.
Here.
Mr. McDougall.
Here.
Ms. Hubick.
Here.
Thank you.
Would you all please join me in the pledge?
Mayor Miller,
Mr. Carter.
I move to excuse Mr. Young from tonight's meeting.
Okay, motion by Mr. Carter, a second by Ms. Hubick to excuse Mr. Young. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We're on to item number 3, announcements and committee reports. I've got a couple, and I'll start with why you hear this humming and see a bunch of tape all over City Hall. We had a water leak from a water fountain on the 3rd floor. Of course, it always happens on the 3rd floor. Fortunately, we had some hardworking IT folks that had to come in on Saturday and caught the leak because we didn't see it when we left the building at 5 p.m. on Friday. So we're evaluating the damage, and luckily we keep our servers out of that area and everything on the cloud. So anyway, we'll hopefully restore that soon. Second, I'd like to thank an organization that I'm a member of, but the Veterans of Foreign War, it's a new post, the Young McCool Post, VFW Post 12220, for their hard work in Causland Park on Saturday, and my back still hurts, but we moved 20 yards of mulch, and it looks really nice over in Causland. Number 3, let's see. Earlier today, I met with County Prosecutor Rich Wyrick, our City Attorney and Police Chief. I know we've talked about the Blake fix and the fact that the legislature is doing a special session just to work on that Blake fix. In the meantime, I know we're working on our ordinance. He did receive Mr. Walters' inputs. We're working to try to combine our efforts with the other cities in Skagit County, and then hopefully, and I will try not to make eye contact with the city attorney, but hopefully we might have something before council before the special session convenes. Again, there's certainly a chance that we'll do all this really good hard work and then we'll get preempted by whatever the legislature does, but I know council and certainly I feel it's important to work on this, what we call the Blake fix issue with drug possession. And let's see, oh, just a reminder, it's Mother's Day Sunday, so with a mom, stepmom, and mother-in-law, yes, Mother's Day, just a reminder. Okay, other announcements and committee reports. 3A is Planning Committee.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Walters.
The Planning Committee met just before this meeting, Christine Cleland McGrath and Carolyn Moulton and myself. We met with proposed new Planning Director John Coleman and Libby Grage, Planning Manager from the Planning Department. We had a whole bunch of items on our agenda and really not enough time to get to all of them. So we talked about 3 main things. First of all, there is the potential for us to acquire a parcel along Commercial Avenue that is in our stormwater management plan as a future stormwater park. And we might be assisted by Evergreen Islands in achieving that. We think that that might be pretty easy for the city to do, very inexpensive, and be able to achieve a substantial improvement in stormwater quality before it hits Fidalgo Bay. We also talked about the Guimas Channel Trail. As most of us know, I think that the state allocated several $1 million a number of years ago from the state capital budget in the future. The future is now. And so we're looking at spending some money on doing an EIS for the entire length of the trail. And so we spent quite a bit of time talking about what the Planning Committee sees as our objectives in developing the trail, principally for our residents, principally a connection from Washington Park to the downtown, to the Tommy Thompson Trail, but also a connection maybe from neighborhoods that are south of Highway 20 Spur, Oaks Avenue, laterally north to the trail, and not necessarily a 15-foot wide paved path for ambulances, but more a path that's targeted at non-motorized but multimodal connections for recreation and bonuses for transportation, for commuting, for tourists. So where the planning department is with that at the moment is developing a scope of work with a consultant. The consultant would then scope an EIS, and ultimately an EIS would articulate a plan for the whole length of the trail. It's a many-month, multi-year process that we're looking at. And then finally, we talked a little bit, just at the end, about our future housing options ordinance, and we articulated our desire for some aspects of the improvements that we laid out in our housing action plan to come forward near term, sooner rather than later. Not wait for the 2025 comprehensive plan update, and not wait for the development regulation update that will follow that. But let's do some simple things right away. There were a number of housing bill signings today. The governor signed a whole bunch of legislation that passed through the legislature that it will require us to change our code. It will also enable us to reduce impact fees, for example, for smaller units. It will allow us to articulate an impact fee schedule based on square footage, which is something we'd asked for in the past and hadn't been able to achieve, or at least it was legally questionable whether that could be done. Now it can be done. So there are a number of things in addition to the housing option ordinance that we talked about that could be done near term to help incentivize additional housing, small unit, more affordable housing in Anacortes, and we're hoping to move those things forward in the near future.
Okay, next up is item 3B, Public Safety Committee.
Mayor Miller.
Ms. Hubick.
Thank you. Public Safety Committee met back on the 2nd. Cleland McGrath was with us, and just a lot of the meeting was spent discussing what you had mentioned earlier, going over the Blake decision and possible next steps, text that has been written up, and paths that we want to move forward. Both of our chiefs gave us an update on their staffing levels. We got an update from North Sound ACH, exploring the social navigator. So the partnership that's happened through the Anacortes Family Center, we're still working through that. There's more grant funding coming through, so we're going to dig into that a little bit more. And we also touched on the emergency response plan that was brought up at the last council meeting.
All right, thank you. Item number 3C, this is confirmation of John Coleman as Planning, Community, and Economic Development Director. This is an action item, and Ms. Wen, you're going to come up and introduce this one.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members of the audience. It is my pleasure this evening to introduce to you John Coleman. John comes to us with nearly 17 years of experience from the city of Sedro-Woolley, where he served as a planning director and building official for 11 years. Mr. Coleman has a bachelor's in geography and a master's in geography and planning. He brings a wealth of knowledge and experience in Washington state land use planning, zoning regulations, and building codes. We believe that Mr. Coleman's experience will be an invaluable asset to the city. And with that, I will hand it off to Mr. Coleman to say a few words.
All right, and he's saying a few words, and this is usually when I stall for time as you walk your way up here. But I also like to thank Councilmember Christine Cleland McGrath and Councilmember Young for being part of the hiring committee. And Mr. Coleman, we're very excited to have you here. So please go ahead.
Well, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public. I understand I have some very big shoes to fill, so I've already been looking at several council and planning commission videos to try to get up to speed, hit the ground running. Really look forward to working with such a excellent community and helping to do, helping the council and the mayor and the community achieve their long-range planning goals and, of course, permitting needs as well. Appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And again, I realize the timing isn't perfectly ideal to have Mr. Coleman come before, but I am going to request from council his confirmation for the Planning, Community, and Economic Development Director.
Mayor Miller?
Mr. Walters.
I appreciate your acknowledgement of a little bit of an error in the order of operations there, but I met Mr. Coleman when I was an intern in the City of Sedro-Woolley City Attorney's Office in 2007, and I am pleased to move to approve his appointment as Planning Director.
Second.
All right, a motion by Mr. Walters, a second by Ms. Cleland McGrath. Any additional comments? I think we can probably do a voice vote for this one. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, congratulations, Mr. Coleman, and welcome aboard. Okay, moving on to item 3D. This is a Solarized Skagit presentation. While Ms. Grange comes up to introduce our presenters, I saw this presentation as I think it was part of Skagit Council of Governments, and Mayor Hayes introduced them, but I'll let Ms. Grange introduce the group. Ms. Grange.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council, and members of the audience. I'm happy to introduce presenters Mary Woleb, Greg Whiting, and Bob Raymond, and they will be here to talk about the Skagit Valley Clean Energy Cooperative, Olympia Community Solar, and the Solarized Skagit program, which is intended to promote a more rapid adoption of solar energy and battery storage, as well as other sustainability practices and electrification in general. So with that, I will invite the presenters up. Hello.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Thank you, everyone who's here. My name is Greg Whiting. I am one of the people on the board of the Skagit County Clean Energy Cooperative, Skagit Valley Clean Energy Cooperative, and my colleagues are with me here to support a presentation describing to you the Solarize initiative that we have put in place to encourage people throughout Skagit Valley to take advantage of some fairly unique opportunities to add solar at low costs right now. So just a brief introduction. What is the Skagit Valley Clean Energy Cooperative? We are a nonprofit that was incorporated last year to promote the use of clean energy throughout Skagit County, and we are currently working on the Solarize campaign. We've put together some grant applications for clean energy technologies at public buildings. We're working on supporting clean energy legislation and educating the public about clean energy, among other things. I write a column for the Laconar Weekly News on that with the cooperative's endorsement. And the co-op intends to do additional projects, which you can see up here, that will be aimed at expanding the use of renewable energy systems as the technologies become better and faster and cheaper and just generally more widely available. But today we are here to talk about the Skagit, the Solarize program, and our partner in Solarize is Olympia Community Solar, which is another 501c nonprofit that has been founded down in Thurston County to provide access to clean energy systems. And they have had quite a bit of success over the last few years in doing Solarize projects and in improving the access to solar energy by people throughout not only Thurston and Mason counties, and there have been other Solarize projects that have been sponsored by other people as well. So what we're going to talk about is what is Solarize, why is it important to do it now, what are the benefits, and how it works. So let's get on with it. What is a Solarize campaign? It is a opportunity to take advantage of a special pricing. We have worked with Olympia Community Solar to pre-vet and get on board 3 solar contractors with extensive experience in developing solar projects on people's homes, and have gotten them to offer a special price that is 10 to 20% below the normal price by essentially using the buying power of the co-op. In this case, we don't actually have the members, but the people that we're bringing in through the Solarize program are essentially a bulk purchasing program in the same way that co-ops usually do. You're undoubtedly familiar with things like food co-op or REI. We're trying to do the same thing by providing access to, in this case, clean energy technologies for interested parties at a lower price by through bulk purchasing, and make the entire process easier. So we've already pre-vetted the contractors, we've already negotiated the pricing with them. All you have to do as a potential enrollment partner is to say, I'm interested, and essentially the entire thing goes from there. So what we will, and we're hoping to get at least 50 homes in throughout the county to sign up for solar installation, and we started in February by doing the pre-vetting. We are launching the campaign, and we are here today to ask the city of Anacortes for its help in promoting this to people in Anacortes. And as we go forward, you'll see what benefits this might have to Anacortes residents. The benefits are simplicity. We've already done a lot of the work that you would have to do as a homeowner to research the contractors, and to work with people who will be able to explain not only what the technical requirements are, but what the financial benefits are. We've worked to make it affordable by pre-qualifying the contractors at low prices, and there are additional affordability considerations that are available right now, which makes this an opportunity for people to take advantage of solar power right now, because there is a 30% federal tax credit, and the state of Washington has also approved a suspension of the sales tax on this. So between the discount that you get for participating in the Solarize program, the tax credit that you get for taking advantage of the IRA tax credit on solar energy installations, and the state of Washington's suspension of the sales tax, you're getting almost half off what the normal price would be by buying now. And we'll go through the details of that here in a moment. And of course, we're trying to build community by having events that will encourage people to get together and talk more about clean energy technologies. So simplicity. Once you sign up online as a person who is potentially interested, one of the 3 contractors, again, people with lots of experience in solar installation, will schedule an assessment. They'll come out and give you a quote, and at that point you can say, well, no, this doesn't look like it'll work for me, or you say yes, and then they do the installation and the paperwork to walk you through the paperwork that's necessary to participate in Puget Sound Energy's net metering program. The net metering program is essentially a mechanism through which Puget pays you, it keeps track of the amount of solar energy that your panels generate, and then pays you back in kind in the number of kilowatt hours that you generate versus the number of kilowatt hours that you use. There's a true up at the end of the year, but if you put enough solar on your house to generate as much energy as you use throughout the year, even though you aren't necessarily generating it at the specific time of day that you're using it, you wind up with your electric bill being as low as just the more or less $10 a month connection charge. You can literally get your bill down to almost zero by installing enough solar on your home at this point. There is a little video here on net metering, which basically just says what I've already said. And then at affordability, we've already discussed. And in summary, we have done these things to make the program easy to use, and we would like to also say that the contractors are going to talk with you at, completely as a potential participant, completely at your discretion as to whether or not you want to add things, such as battery backup for your house or a level 2 electric vehicle charger to further take advantage of the technologies that are available in this space. What our request is for council tonight is that you help us to promote this program via whatever mechanisms the city has available to let people know that the program exists, that it is real, that you really can get more or less half off on a solar installation at this point, and that this is something that has no obligation and is completely at the discretion of the people that are interested in participating in it. If you're interested in it, this is a good thing. This is a good time to do it, and this is a good way to do it. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Mary to talk further about outreach.
So thank you for having us here. This is the big ask. The big ask is to get endorsement from the cities in Skagit County, and we've talked about Vernon, Cedar Woolley, La Conner, Burlington. That's about it so far, and you guys. And so what we'd like is that there's venues within your own social media that we can promote the program, possibly do a flyer there and send it out to your citizens. That would be a great way to show endorsement. I think that's probably the best way to do. Right now, it's probably a little too late to do any stuffing in utility bills, which we've been doing with, I think, the City of Mount Vernon. The program ends July 4th, so it's a kind of a short time frame, and we're kind of scurrying to get things done. But if we can get some support through some social media, get the word out, that would be awesome. So I'm looking for support. The other thing we have going on, and I'll leave some brochures and some flyers up at that table. There's an event this Saturday in La Conner at Maple Hall called Solar Jam, and we've invited the installers, some banks, the Community Energy Program out of Bellingham, and of course Olympia Community Solar, to do a presentation, and then we're offering music and fun afterwards. So it's just going to be a great time to get information and then have fun. So that's on May 13th. It starts at 4 o'clock and then goes on until 9. So we're now going to open it up for questions.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. My first question, tell me more about this July 4th deadline. I feel like that's a deadline for something. What does that mean?
So this is something, when we partnered with Olympia Community Solar, they found in their past few years' experience that if you don't have a deadline,
Okay.
especially with your installers, they've negotiated with their suppliers reduced prices, and you can't extend it because then they're out. So that's why
Gotcha.
the July 4th
Gotcha.
deadline came on.
Thank you. Okay, council, any questions?
Mayor Miller?
Mr. McDougall.
Yeah, so the deadline for the installer discount is early July. The 30% federal tax waive and the sales tax waiver, do those have a current expiration date, or is that?
At least I've heard from the federal government that the 30% goes through 2043. Is that right? Or 2034? Something like that. So it's still,
Okay.
it's an ongoing through
Nice.
the Inflation Reduction Act.
Okay, and the sales tax?
The sales tax, the same thing.
Same thing? Okay,
Yeah.
great. Yeah, and sales tax applies to the installation costs as well,
Right.
so.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Walters.
Well, I think this is an exciting program. I certainly support people coming together to try to reduce costs and build excitement around solar. I put solar panels on my house probably 10 years ago, and I definitely have had some months with zero or close to zero electricity bills for not a very large array, although I also try to conserve power. So people could really benefit. I mean, a lot of people, I think, still think that Washington skies are too cloudy for solar, and it just isn't the case. And I'd love to see more people participate here. I know in Bellingham, they've had community energy challenges to
Yes.
do things, including sign up for green power, but also getting the community engaged around putting solar on their house, I think would be great. So I will certainly promote this however I can, and maybe you can do another round if you have lots of excitement and lots of participation through this July deadline. But
Thank you.
we'll relay that as well. Could you put your last slide up that has your contact information so that people can see that
Let's see
as
here.
perfect? Thank
There
you.
it is.
And thank you for the presentation.
Questions?
Any other questions? All right. Well, hey, thank you very much. Great. Oh, yeah, well, sure. Well, but you're going to you have to come up to the nope. You have to come up to the microphone and state your name and where you live. That's how it works here. It's okay. All good. We just have to get it on the record.
My name's Lori Halverson. I live
You can just say Anacortes.
Anacortes.
Okay.
I just wanted to get the website again. I started to get it and the slide went away. Okay, thank you.
Oh. It's the Skagit, it's the SkagitVCE.coop, correct?
Yeah.
That's the, all right, thank you for that. That was a good question. Make sure we get the website. All right. Thank you very much for the presentation. Appreciate it. We'll help you spread the word. Okay, next up is item 4, which is public comment. This is an opportunity for any members of the public that would like to address the council, that anything that is not on our agenda. And there's quite a few folks here, one online attendee. Anybody? Oh, but I do have one sign up. Thank you for reminding me. I have Pinky Vargas, and I think that says sustainability RFP is your topic. So come on up and who you are, and we just require that what city you live in. And a little closer to the microphone and make sure it's on. And make sure it's on. Yeah, I don't think it's on. No, I don't. Make sure the blue light.
Green light.
Green light. There we go. Okay.
Let's start over. Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Pinky Vargas. I live in the city of Bellingham, but I work for Republic Services. I'm the municipal manager for Skagit County. Firstly, I want to thank you for your service. As a former elected, I know that this is a tough job, and it takes a lot of pieces to make all your constituents and your public happy. But I do know my experience with the city of Anacortes is you've always been leaders on sustainability, and that's one of the reasons I'm here tonight. I want to provide some additional information to help you make an educated decision that impacts your budgets and your emission generation in your county, which I know matters as leaders and accountability to the public. Right now, well, first of all, I work in waste, and waste is not exactly the most sexy topic for everybody, but it is important, and it has long-term effects, particularly on our environment. And recently, a recommendation was made to the SWAC board to consider WM's bid over Republic in the RFP for waste disposal. We do have some concerns that the committee process and their recommendation did not factor in sustainability, emissions, and the lower cost. And we don't feel as though this was fairly factored into this decision. If we lose the partnership with Skagit County under fair scoring criteria, we will accept that. However, that does not appear to be the case, which is concerning. For example, the current proposal would mean that WM would start trucking solid waste through Skagit, Snohomish, and King counties by over 9,000 truck trips a year at current volumes. Republic uses rail with considerably low emissions that is positioned right behind the Skagit County transfer station. No trucks go on public roadways. And according to your Skagit County Climate and Sustainability Initiative, you're committed to reducing and mitigating your operational and regional greenhouse gas emissions and adapting to the effects of our changing climate. If this is indeed the goal, why was this not truly evaluated in the RFP process? The impression received at this recommendation is based heavily on last year's service challenges, and we certainly acknowledge that 2022 was a year with global economic challenges. rail slowdowns, supply chain issues, fuel prices, and a shortage of CDL drivers and labor challenges. That's all had a direct impact on the solid waste industry. It was a challenging year for all of us, and we are actively trying to solve these issues with our rail partners, BNSF, and our legislators. This was an anomaly and not anyone's usual method of operation. We have been servicing Skagit County since 1993 and trusted that our 30-year relationship of consistent service would outweigh the recent complications. I don't know any 30-year marriage that doesn't have one bad year, but we don't want a divorce. We want to stay here. So we've spent the last year collaborating with our partners to ensure we are not in this predicament again. Our bid included investing nearly $10 million in expanding the rail intermodal located in Skagit. It'll double the capacity. And our bid was also 50 cents lower, which means you'll be paying $66,000 more a year for our competitors. We request that the committee review the criteria before the SWAC meeting on May 11th. I did send you all a letter with lots of details on it and my contact information if you have any questions. But I want to thank you for your support and appreciate the leadership that Anacortes has always shown in sustainability. Thank you.
Thank you. Yep, and I can confirm we received that letter. Okay, anybody else? I don't have anybody else signed up, but is there anybody else that wanted to address the council before we move on to our, and looking online, double checking, thank you for changing the screen. Okay, moving on to item 5, which is our consent agenda, items A, B, C, and D. Council.
Mayor Miller,
Ms. Moulton.
I move to approve consent agenda items 5A through D.
Second.
Okay, a motion by Ms. Moulton, a second by Ms. Hubick to approve consent agenda items A through D. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. On to item 6A. This is under other business, a contract award, dedicated internet access service. And Ms. Shu will be presenting. Ms. Shu.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, and members of the audience. Tonight, I present to you a contract with Cogent Communications. This is for direct internet access, and it's an opportunity for Access Anacortes Fiber Internet to not only increase our carrier diversity, but also our path diversity for how we provide internet service. We currently have just shy of 2,000 customers in service, and we have many more waiting for service as we continue to expand our footprint in Anacortes. This will help us to meet the needs of that growing population, and I encourage you to review and consider this contract tonight.
Okay, I know the contract was in the packet. Hopefully you had a chance to review it. Any questions, Mr. Walters?
No questions, but we did look at this topic in the fiber committee, and the strength of our fiber network is its reliability, and reliability is premised on the diversity of the connections. So I'm supportive of this move and would move approval of the contract as presented.
Second. Okay, a motion by Mr. Walters, a second by Mr. McDougall to approve the contract with Cogent Communications, Inc. in the amount of, as presented in the packet. There's a lot of different amounts in there, per month and total contract award. Mr. Franciac, would you take the vote, please?
Mr. Walters.
Yes.
Ms. Cleland McGrath.
Yes.
Ms. Moulton.
Yes.
Mr. McDougall.
Yes.
Ms. Hubick.
Yes.
Mr. Carter.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have any further business in front of the council, so with that, I will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.